Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Joey Zero's weekly Warframe show. I'm Joey Zero, and it's been more than a week again. I'm sorry about that. I underestimated how long it was going to take me to do one of the segments this week, so I'm going to be cutting back a little more on the abstract creative segments a bit, so we can get back to making the weekly Warframe show a little more weekly. Anyway, since the last episode, we saw the release of the Exploiter Orb fight, which unfortunately will probably be gone on PC by the time this episode is released, but I really do hope you had a chance to experience it. The fight itself is incredibly accessible, able to be run by both newer and older players alike without a ton of investment. It's engaging, it's rewarding, it's probably what I'd say is the best boss fight Warframe has seen to date, and I think a lot of us can agree that it'd be great if other boss fights were a little more like this one. If you didn't get a chance to run this boss fight, fear not, because it will be coming back regularly. As far as I know, we aren't quite sure how long we'll have to wait in between occurrences, but I've got my fingers crossed that it'll remain as rewarding of a fight in the future. Now, the other thing to note is that the next Prime access was also announced on the last dev stream, which is Equinox Prime, Tipeto Prime, and the Stradivar Prime. They also showed off a lot of other really cool features, but this week has been kind of a slow week, and really that's been for the best. Mostly because it's given a lot of players a chance to get exposed to the new Exploiter Orb fight, and, given us a little bit of breathing room to play it, which I love. If I had to guess, I'd say that the next week or two will probably also be a bit on the slow side while we wait for other changes that they've announced on dev streams, but again, I'm fine with having a little bit of breathing room for some catch-up grind. Anyway, that's it for the major points of what's been going on this week in Warframe. I'm gonna go ahead and pass you off to Xenogelion now for our Xeneric brand energy soda unpopular opinion of the week.
And now it's time for an unpopular opinion.
With the near constant demand for endgame and difficulty on the forums, DE should reintroduce a plat charge for revives and introduce high credit charges for repairing sentinels and reviving animal companions.
You just watched Xenogelion giving an unpopular opinion. Brought to you by Xeneric brand energy soda. Get energized.
Yeah, it's the love that really counts. Yeah. Well, hey man, if you ever want to go grab a drink or something after work sometime, chill out like the good old days, that'd be awesome. Thanks, man. I think I might have to take you up on that. It'd be great to finally... I died on the tile I was built to defend, and I became the bullet that took all my friends. I was eaten by space cats and became the mass that would go on to be all the weapons they craft. And the death machine briefly returned us to life, but as shadows and shields there to help them survive, until finally at once we returned to our graves, leaving only red orbs to give life in our place. So I became the bullet, kill a hydralist dead, and became the arcane. The player picked up and said, I'm so glad that I started some 6 years ago, before focus and ribbons and rework 0.0. I went to the market, was traded around until finally a player who needed me found them. My friends and I all made his builds that much stronger and went on to tackle the star chart together. Then some time passed and some surplus was seen. We were 65 serrations given for free. We would carry the players at every speed. The places we took them, the things they would see. I was one of 10 million, gobbled up by a ribbon. Changed hands 16 times for a portion of platinum. And traded I was to the market for skin sigils, weapons and colors that once had been dimmed. Till finally I stood for the depths of the game. I was 1 point of data in a sea of the same. And how blindly I begged not to nerf or to change, as the truth of my treasures lay naked in plain. Conversations were had and decisions were made. I ascended with all of my brethren that day, as the castle was built on the bones of our time. Now shining new castle, the top of the line. Became the bullet, killed a hydralist dead, and became the arcane. The player picked up and said, I'm so glad that I started some 6 years ago, before focus and ribbons and...
Oh my, that corpus is dead. But what is death, and what does it mean when one ceases to be? Being as in being alive, able to move and able to kill. Killing is also defined as the act of taking life away, something we do all the time in Warframe, but even Warframes are finite. They can and will die. So how do you go about preventing that? Hey Tenno, Michel here, and today we're talking death. What is up, my fellow Tenno? Hope you like the extra saucy intro. Don't worry, the rest of today's video will just be the regular slash dash. Today's topic is death, and there are multiple ways of approaching death. However, I want to focus specifically on the bleed out. That moment when your Warframe is down and you just have a little bit of time left to be revived, because that is a crucial time for action. Okay, yeah, no, this is not what I was talking about. Okay, please, stop. So as I hope that you're all aware of, once you hit 0 health in Warframe, you will go down, and without anyone there to revive you in time, you will die. Now, of course, every Warframe has been made in some sense to survive. However, one of my absolute favorites is Oberon. Oberon has an ability called Renewal that replenishes health once it's active, and in combination with his second ability, Hallowed Grounds, will also give you an armor boost. Now, if you do happen to die with Oberon, Renewal gives you an extended bleed out timer so that allies have more time to come and pick you up. Unless you're running Oberon's augment, Phoenix Renewal, because then you get instantly revived. I mean, yeah, try it Oberon, I really love him. If you want to use another Warframe, Nidus is a great option too. Now, today we're not going to go in depth about his stacks, which build up with Nidus ability kills, but if you build up at least 15 stacks with Nidus, once your health reaches below 0, instead of dying, 15 stacks will be consumed, and you can just continue to move on. However, as we all know, moving on is not always an option. At some point, either you or your teammates will go down. So, what to do then? Well, instead of standing there for a few seconds reviving your buddy, for which the Sentinel Sanctuary mod is a great addition to your build, 10 out of 10 would use it anytime, Necros was the very first Warframe that, with his augment Soul Survivor, could soul punch people back to life at the cost of his energy. This is quite a game changer, especially in tricky situations. However, we now also have Fazarin Mending Soul, a focus ability that gives you 4 instant revives on your Warframe and 4 instant revives on your Operator. Basically, this means that I can come up and pick up other people or re-revive myself with 0 revive time. Keep in mind though that this only works 4 times on your Warframe and 4 times on your Operator, so best practice would be to revive others with your Operator so that they can come and pick up your Warframe 4 other times without having the revive wait. And that's what I call another 2 minutes. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week.
Welcome to our tip of the week. My name is XandyPants, you can call me Xandy, and today, behold, survivability, not dying. It's great, but my tip for you is a little bit different this time. When we're talking about dying in Warframe, it's hard not to bring up the fact that full builds that have even so much as looked at a survivability mod before usually don't die very often. Most missions aren't so much about us dying, they're more about defending some more vulnerable entity, or completing an objective within limited time or in a limited space. And then we have stuff like Sanctuary Onslaught or Higher End Survival, which is pretty much just about killing enemies fast enough to stay in the game. There, if you were to die, the problem isn't so much the death itself since you have so many revives, it's that the mission might fail while you're reviving, and as a related side effect you lose your buffs and potentially built up damage. I'm looking at you, Gara, and also at a survivability mod. It is important to have some survivability to avoid dying left and right, but I wrote an entire script about how to construct that survivability before I realized that I'm an idiot because what's more important is figuring out how much you need. As I said before, it's not that you're gonna die so often, it's figuring out how to make sure you're not dead so often that it makes the objective fail. That script that I wrote before would have encouraged some of you to pile survivability everywhere, but, I assume most of you have smelled, tasted, and or otherwise consorted with a survivability mod before, which is why I've chosen to demonstrate how to figure out what you need instead. So, this ESO clip you've been seeing in the background, yeah? You'll notice that I almost never take any damage because enemies are dying that fast. They have to be or I'd lose, which creates this situation where I'd only take enough damage to be in danger in higher zones, yet I'd only even get to those zones by killing the enemies so fast that they can rarely hurt me. My point is that my loadout needs access to extreme burst healing, but not so much sustained healing. My personal best solo is zone 14 with this setup, and I only fail due to a sudden death that slows down my killing too much, maybe 1 out of every 5 times, and those runs are usually going afoul a bit before that point. I need burst healing. I need to be able to occasionally heal to full almost instantly without slowing down my murderous rampage. I don't need sustained healing or a dedicated healing weapon, and indeed, since my primary goal is to slaughter all the things, running unnecessary amounts of healing might hold me back. So, looking at my build, Hey, don't look at me like that, you don't know my needs. So the build, yeah, I burned a few survivability mods and wafted them over my computer while making this, but more importantly, I have this crazy healing return whip with over 9,000 different status types between it and Saren's abilities. I even have my Ozma turrets, which remotely allow me to spread my spores with reduced fire rate on a Riven and Creeping Bullseye, and they can also incidentally give me some other status types. Fact aside that across my loadout, I have nearly every status type. When I need to heal, I can just throw a slide attack into a group of enemies, and I'll get a gigantic burst of healing while still doing very high damage with Condition Overload. This is even faster than 2 Magus Elevate sets, although those are very helpful too. In a crowd, with this loadout, slide attacks are usually an instant full heal. I don't run Regenerative Molt or anything else because I don't really want or need sustained healing. I want all of the health all at once on very rare occasions. Regenerative Molt is not fast enough when I actually need it. But that's just one example of my thought process when finding a way to survive that fits the theme and the situations I'll be using it in. And the idea, my hope, is that you'll be able to carry this mindset over to your own builds and loadouts and find it helpful. I've been Xandy and you've been Dandy, and I hope your frames will be healthy as you write down the name of a survivability mod, partially erase it, and then look at the eraser shavings while making your builds. Thanks for tuning in to our tip of the week, and now, on with the show.
Have you ever wanted a gun that was also a harpoon? Well, guess what? Warframe's got 2 of them.
There's the Harpak and the Parasist, and we're going to be focusing on the Harpak today. Now, this is a burst fire projectile weapon, which there aren't many of in Warframe. There's the Hema, which we looked at in a previous episode, the Harpak, and the Parasist. But if you're looking for more of a, meta weapon to draw comparisons to, the burst fire on the Tiburon feels pretty similar, even though it's a hit scan weapon. The Tiburon has a lot of other strengths as well. I'm just throwing that out there. So first off, let's talk about the alt fire here. You can use it to basically harpoon an enemy to drag them to you. Some people think it's hilarious, but for me, that's not quite enough to merit using this weapon on its own. However, if ragdoll physics make you a little bit, this weapon might be for you. However, it is worth noting that you can CC an enemy before they do one of their moves, like MOAs and heavy gunners and stuff. But these are mostly all tactics that players have learned less gear-dependent ways of reacting to. And let's be real here, if you're just looking to move enemies around the map on demand, there are better ways to do it. Now, this weapon has some solid crit stats and some respectable status chance, which, that high puncture does help quite a bit with pushing those crits just a little bit further. On its own, this weapon can push sortie and arbitration play decently, but the hidden strength of this weapon is its 5 out of 5 Riven disposition, which can work out pretty well for this weapon, meaning that, it's not hard to roll a serration or split chamber replacement. It takes crit Rivens really, really well, and also benefits from flight speed if you get a decent roll there, increasing both the projectile travel time and the damage done by ragdolled enemies that it kills. I'd say that if you want to use this weapon well, a Riven is a must. And in that regard, I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers when I say this, but I really feel like this weapon is a good example of the Riven system working as intended. Which is to say that a decent roll on a Riven can take this otherwise mediocre weapon and turn it into something that can reasonably contend with its more meta competitors. If you're looking for a general use build, this is mine. It's a bit suboptimal damage-wise, but the build stresses versatility that can translate well into low or higher level play. I'd rather be running corrosive or radiation instead of viral on this, but I rolled cold on my Riven, so I'm just rolling with what I've got, and I encourage you to do the same. So that's it. It's pretty straightforward. If I had to rate this weapon, I'd say 3 memes out of 5. The memes as in the alt fire, because it's a meme. It's lackluster on its own, it's solid with the Riven, and it looks like a potato. So that's it. There you go. Let me know what you guys think, and what other weapons we should cover down in those comments. Alright everybody, thanks again so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As usual, please make sure to check out the links in the description for all the channels and social media of the other content creators that were involved in the making of the show. You can find links for them and for all the music we used down in the description. Go check it out. Also, I just want to give one more huge thank you to everybody that showed up to help us raise money for Children's Miracle Network. You guys are actually the bomb. And if you're interested in helping to support the creation of more content like this, please check out the link to the support page. Anyway, that's it. Once again, my name is Joey Zero. Okay, bye.